Our hackathon is actually the biggest innovating event that Dell has to offer.
Ideas, by definition, are always fragile.
No tolerance for failure, no innovation.
The best ideas have to win.
This is the Synthesize Pod from Bright Idea. It's your weekly hit of insights and actionable strategies for innovation-minded professionals that just want to get shit done. Welcome to Season 1, Just Say Hackathon.
Hey everyone, we're back here on the Synthesize Pod, and we've got a very special guest today. Karina, you want to say hello?
Hi, everyone.
Karina is a innovation program manager, hackathon program at Dell, a company I think a lot of people are familiar with. I had my first computer was a Dell, and that was even before the dude you're getting a Dell ads. So dating myself a little bit. But Karina, just thought we would have a little casual conversation here, learn a little bit more about your background and how you got into your role there, and then maybe we can talk more about the hackathon program specifically. I know you guys have a very large global program, and we're doing this whole first season on just hackathon. So maybe we can just start with some of your background.
No, absolutely. That's a great question. Basically, I think that I've been in innovation field for years, and it kind of runs in a family. My brother has a tech company, and he started it back in 2004. And obviously, I was one of the first people to work in that company, and I was 16.
What does that company do?
Well, a full cycle digital production company. So websites, apps. At that point, they didn't do apps because they did not exist, but phone apps. But yes, they were pioneers on the market. And yeah, so I kind of started in there and spending my summers in there. And then later on, when I needed an internship, I joined them full time and did something very similar. So we did have our internal hackathons, our internal innovation program for years. And that was just before my relocation. That was back in Russia. I'm originally from Russia. That was right before relocating in United States. So over here, I also pursued the same career after a bit, and I joined Dell in 2019. We were the first to start the hackathon on a global level at Dell at that point in 2019. It was a smaller event. It was just for our storage, which is also a huge unit, a huge business unit, but way smaller than it is right now, what we're doing.
Before we jump into all the hackathon stuff, because I want to get to all that good stuff, but I love to understand the person. And so you started working with your brother at this startup, kind of full stack digital agency. And what were you helping with? Were you doing all things, everything from accounting to web development, or did you have a specialty?
So initially, mostly web development, web design. I would learn simple coding. At that point, it was kind of easier, but also kind of more difficult because it was all mostly coding. There were platform management systems that you just had to know how to code.
How old were you when that all started?
Well, I was 14. I mostly joined when I was 16. Yes, and then in about 20, I joined as their development manager for the company to start their development department. And at that point, they were one of the biggest companies on the Russian market.
How many people did they have?
They had a few offices in Russia and across the globe. So it was about 200 people, which is not really a lot, but for that area, it was a lot for that field.
Were they serving customers within Russia or international or both?
Both, mostly Russia, but they did have some international customers as well.
And the customers were startups or were big companies or both?
Different, really, really different companies, but obviously we would try to look for bigger tech companies or production or manufacturers because, well, again, budget limitations.
Is there a big difference in terms of culture of the business or whatever, in terms of seeing that business in Russia and seeing what you've seen here in the US?
Actually, it's huge. And I'm actually pleased to say that our innovation program at Dell, it actually started back in Russia. So they had it in a small scale in a Russian office. We used to have an office in Russia, an R&D. And when leadership in United States learned about how good this program is doing there, they decided to scale it up. So they first scaled it up to storage division level, and then it scaled up globally. So this culture is pretty big in Russia. Like they're innovating, the hackathons. I think it was 2016. I was already living in United States. I joined a startup camp in Moscow in Russia, and I flew there for 3 months to participate in that startup. So it's that big of a culture in there.
And what was that team doing that was so compelling that you guys wanted to scale it up to storage?
I would think of it as an innovation ecosystem. It included the hackathon, but they also did work with local meetup communities. They would invite them. They would have different knowledge sharing sessions, brown bag lunches. They would do recorded sessions. They would do patent education sessions. So we kind of packed it, rebranded, scaled it up, and made a whole new innovation program that would fit all of them together like a puzzle. We would have our own innovation digest where we would share all of those activities. We would have on-site events across the globe. So our team is completely international. We have a couple of folks in United States. Then we had people in India. We have people in China. We have some representatives in Ireland and Israel and Russia at that point. So all of our activities, we scaled them across the globe. So some of them were hybrid, like some online knowledge sharing sessions or recorded interviews with our top engineering leads. And some of the activities were local only to, bring people together, like those meetups and hackathon, obviously. Yeah.
When you're in all those countries, that was when you're still just the R&D team, or that was when you'd scaled it up to storage, or that was when you're...
No, that's when we scale it up to storage.
Okay. You had people in all those countries in that storage group, and just talk to us about what those people do on a day-to-day basis. I mean, are they building out data centers? Are they onboarding customer workloads into those data centers? What does that storage group do?
Well, we do have a huge selection actually of storage products, and it obviously has both sides to it, and it's hardware and then it's software. But the hackathon is not only limited to engineers for Dell. It's very important. At some point, we even try to use less of coding word versus innovating, because the goal is innovation. So it's open to everyone. It's not only engineers that participate, but it's product management, program management. We have folks from marketing. We even have folks from other divisions. It's not even limited to infrastructure. So we are the sponsors. We're running it, and we market and advertise it for our business unit, but we do see teams joining from other business units, which is very exciting. But yeah, we are crafting storage solutions. They're for smaller businesses, for bigger businesses. I think we're one of the leaders on the market. So whatever you can think of storage, we do.
Help us understand the timing. So what year was it that you kind of took it from this R&D group in Russia and then took it up to the storage group?
So it started in, I think, 2018 when they decided to scale it and make this program international. Mm-hmm. And this is where our team was formed in early 2019. So basically right after Christmas and New Year, they were hiring the whole team.
And were you at Dell already and they moved into this group, or you were hired into this group?
No, I was fresh. I was a fresh hire at that point. So I was the first one among the first people to join the team.
You had already been doing this innovation work at your brother's company, and is that what they saw that you could help with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and when I saw this opening, I was like, wow, this is exactly what I've been doing for years and from scratch. And that department was also being built pretty much from scratch. I guess that helped. That helped a lot. I was very passionate about it. I was like, you guys need me.
I want to pause and call out. So you said like late 2019. Obviously, early 2020 is when COVID happened, right?
Early 2019.
Okay, so you had a year before kind of COVID rocked the world of being as part of this team. And I just want to call out that's the elephant in the room. Whenever I hear 2019, 2020 timeline, I'm like, everything shifted right then.
No, we had a year, but it was a crazy ride after that year. Yes. And it was like a huge expansion for us, but we also had to shift from completely on-site hackathon to digital, and now we're slowly shifting to hybrid.
You had about a year there, and you guys had already. So does your team only do hackathons?
No, we do our whole ISG innovation program, which includes a whole set of initiatives. One of them is Hackathon, and I would say it ties lots of things together. And this is an annual event. We prepare it in the background for about 6 months, like prior to the event. And then we have post-production, which is, I would say it's a never-ending cycle. But we do have, we do have other programs. We have a very exciting Women in Technology program where we work on a set of interviews with our engineering women leaders. And we do have an interview series with different product groups, and they talk about innovation that they've been working on. We do have a technical leadership community program where we foster engineering leaders and grow them. So we do have a lot of things. It's a whole ecosystem, and patents obviously is a very important part of it. And last year we also incorporated that portion into the hackathon directly. So we have it as a standalone program, but we also incorporated it into the hackathon. So it's a very immersive, I would say, experience at Dell.
All encompassing, yeah. Okay, so it's 2018. You join. You have experience. You read this job description. You go, "This is me. This is what I love to do." You join this team. How big did the team get kind of before COVID hit?
It's actually a very small team.
Okay.
So at that point, I was covering all the West Coast and Central United States. I had a colleague in Hopkinton. Dell has a very big office in Hopkinton, so she was covering East Coast. Then we had a couple of folks in Russia, and they were covering Russia and Israel and Ireland regions. And then we also had a person in India and a person in China.
Were you all kind of doing your own thing, or was there like a top-down mandate of we want to do these 5 things?
So each of us, how our department was built, each of us had our global streams, which means that they're scaled to all regions. Like, for example, I was doing and still doing all communications, which include ISG Innovation News Digest. We have our own platform where we share all our news, and that was one of my global streams. And then later on, running the hackathon became my global stream as well. But then, and a few other things. But then we also have our local streams, which means that we are doing local events for people in our locations. Would those be meetups or some brown bag lunches or any other in-person on-site activities, including the hackathon, because for us it's global, but then it has to happen. That's the tricky part. But then it has to happen in every location as well in their time zone. So this is also a local initiative for every single person in our team.
So I'm curious, and Margaret, sorry if I'm asking all these questions, but I'm trying to get the table stakes or the background out. So I'm really fascinated because you've done all these different activities. You've been involved in them in all these different locations. So, from my perspective, that's a really informed perspective. So I'm curious your point of view, if you take a step back and reflect on all that, and like, what do you think, is there one activity that you think is kind of great for an innovation program, or do you think it's the whole mix that really makes it all happen?
That's a good question. I think obviously my favorite, and I'm biased because I'm running the hackathon. Of course, my favorite thing is the hackathon, just because of the scale of it and how many people it brings together and how many projects it creates, and just the idea of it, getting away from your day-to-day job to do something a bit extra. It tells you a lot about the people because they have to actually be so passionate about their career choice and their career path that they find the time to make that happen, and they go beyond the scope of their work and create something new. This is very exciting to see. But again, in our team, which I really love about what we're doing, most of people who work with us, and we are a really small team. So everything that we create means that there are many people from other organizations, from other teams that are being involved in that. Even with the hackathon, we have so many volunteers to make it happen. So just seeing people so excited, so thrilled with their work on a day-to-day basis is great. It cannot be happening without this whole ecosystem around it.
Okay, I've got one more personal question, and then we'll get into the hackathon stuff. But what do you think, as you look at yourself, pulled you into innovation programs? Like, why did you end up being the person that is doing the hackathons? Like, what was there something you saw early on in life that you just kind of you're a creative person, out of the box thinker, or you just like, innovation and that type of thing? How did you what's in you that makes all this happen?
I think it's a bit of everything. First of all, I really love seeing people coming together and working together in this cross-pollination that happens during hackathons or similar events. Is absolutely mind-blowing. This is so energizing to see people coming up together and sharing their experiences. This is something that I'm just really passionate about. And I also love the whole aspect of building something that big. I'm that person who loves being able to start something, see it through, and see the results. And the hackathon is one of those things, which is on one hand a never-ending process, but on the other hand, well, it has its cycles, and seeing the projects going through that cycles is a very exciting thing. And every year I get to build this small ecosystem, lead these projects from end to beginning, and just see how they evolve, and the hackathon itself, how it evolves, how I do come up with different branding each year, and it evolves. And I do pretty much everything from managing Bright Idea and the pipeline in Bright Idea to creating our design every year, our merchandise. So it's like a full cycle project for me.
Can you talk a little bit about that? I always love hearing, on a couple other episodes, we've heard of like the themes or the branding of each hackathon. Can you share a little bit about what those have been in the past?
Oh, well, first year, when it was storage, it was funny. I don't remember the themes exactly back then. They were very scattered. Every year they are aligned to some, I would say, innovation vectors or areas where we pursue some goals at that point. We started in 2019, so I don't remember which exactly were the themes back then. But yeah, the design was kind of funny. We had lots of different small tech-related stickers and stuff that we did, and I still have them, which is funny. They're so popular. Our design evolved since then. It became more serious, only corporate main colors, because we grew much bigger. But I still have left out from that merchandise from back then, and how people just like, I need that for my kids. I love it. They're still grabbing those. Now it's more strict, only aligned to Dell brand, our like famous blue color.
You were kind of sneaking under the radar with some off-branding brand before.
Well, I got it approved. You have to have everything approved. But it was tricky. I had to make like very, very many changes to those designs too. But yeah, it's a hackathon. It should have some fun.
Okay, so finally we can get to talking about the hackathons. We've been talking about it a little bit, but to pick up the story, there was the R&D group. Well, you're with your brother. Then there's the R&D group, and then there's a storage group. And then somehow this thing, went even beyond the storage group. So talk to us about that transition, how that all happened.
Sure. So yes, I think it was the end of 2019. It was the first year of our program up and running. Again, we came up with this whole ecosystem of innovating activities, including the hackathon. At that point, we had 2 hackathons per year, which was really difficult to pull off, but we did it. And it was just such a huge success, both among participants and among the leadership. I don't remember the actual number of projects that participated, but it was more than we expected. And there were obviously people from other business units who wanted to join. So we quickly got onto the radar of leadership, and our work was noticed, and they suggested scaling it to infrastructure solutions group level, which is way bigger than storage.
Okay, pretty much doubled the size of the engagement.
Yes, and the number of projects, it's not even doubled. Last year we had, and I even printed it out, we had 624 projects last year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then what's a typical project? I know you're not just coding, that you can do kind of marketing projects as well, but is it some orchestration layer to the storage system, some deep tech, or is it, what's a typical project or an example project that you guys see flow through these hackathons?
I cannot actually go into that details because, yes.
Proprietary information. Understood.
Yes, intellectual property, but they might be very different from actually innovating something that the team has been, let's say, working on already, and they just feel that they need this little tool to make their work easier. It might be something from that. It might be something related to other business unit. It might be some innovation in hardware. There is actually no limit to what it can actually be. And we're seeing all sorts of projects coming through to even sustainability. Last year we had a theme in sustainability. So
But what does the actual deliverable look like? And is that consistent? Is it a video? Is it a demo? Is it a presentation?
So our hackathon it consists of 2 stages. One is local judging, which is either in person or a hybrid, and on that day, projects pitch their idea live. They have 5 minutes to pitch it, and their pitch might include a live or pre-recorded demo, especially if we're talking about hardware projects. Obviously, they do a bit of a pre-recorded demo, so it's only 5 minutes that they have to pitch their idea, and then the judges have 5 minutes to ask their questions and give them their feedback. So this is stage 1, and then judges will have a deliberation session where they select winners. We obviously use Bright Ideas scorecards for that, and I just love how versatile they are, and that we can input all of the criteria that we have. And for us, it's kind of tricky because some of criteria have more weight while others have less weight. And I just love that Bright Idea gives us an opportunity to incorporate that difference. Then judges have deliberation session and they select finalists. And from there, we do collect their recorded pitches and it goes to our global judging panels. And those judging panels select the final winners, one winner per theme.
So how many people get, you said the in the first stage, the live, they do the live or pre-recorded demo, and they get 5 minutes. How many does everyone get to that stage with the judges, like everyone who submits a project, or is there any sort of pre-filtering before you get what you hand to the judges?
Well, that's a good question. So some projects, they just not ready by the time they need to be, so they automatically disqualify. I would say it's about maybe 10% of all submitted projects, they don't get to that final stage. Most of the time it's just because they didn't have enough time or they're just not ready to pitch yet. But we do have other tools available for them year-round to submit ideas and get feedback and review. So it's okay, even in that sense, if they started working on their idea during the hackathon but were just unable to finish it, they can do it later on, and still it's a good way to just at least start working in that direction.
Keep it moving.
I love this idea of that we've talked about in a couple episodes now of innovation programs almost having a rhythm or a drum beat, right? And you have the hackathons, which you said used to be 2 a year, right, biannual, and now is moved to just annual. And that feels like a big bass drum beat, right, of bringing people together and kind of launching them off. But then you have these other programs that seem to be either more frequent or lighter weight. And I love that kind of analogy of music, right? Because it does feel like you need all of those different things in order to keep this innovation program running.
Yeah, I think the hackathon is a great way to bring a lot of intense focus in a very short period of time. And then, some of the other activities are kind of help you stretch it out over the course of the year. So of the 90% that actually, say, I'm ready to have this judged, is there any filtering of that? Or basically, if someone says it's ready to be judged, then the judges are going to see all of those?
Most of the time, no. We have some disqualification criteria. For example, if a person was not able to find a team for himself. So we really want to see people collaborating. So we have this limit that you have to have at least 2 people on the team. So yes, sometimes, rarely, it might be the case that a person was not able to find someone on their team, but that's a very rare case for us. Other than that, no, judges are open to listen to all of the projects and provide their feedback. And we have our themes predefined. So the projects know the themes months in advance. So our 2024 hackathon is this October, but the themes are already available on the website. So they do have a lot of time to think and maybe to even form the team or have their initial thoughts on what they want to work on.
Can I double click on that about this idea of, sorry to interrupt, Matt, but that idea of you have to have at least 2 people on a team. What do you think, where did that decision come from? Was it hard to implement? Did you need executive buy-in or leadership buy-in to make that a rule? And why is it so important to either you or leadership that there would need to be 2 people on a given team?
It was not initially a limit with I think maybe the first hackathon back when it was still just a storage division. And what we saw was that there were many people with the same ideas coming in, and it was just one person in the team. And they also would not have enough time to bring it to the, a state where it can be shown or where they can actually show the results. So we want to make people work a little bit and find people who are interested in the same thing. And we really want to have this cross-pollination in between different product groups, in between different divisions. And you might see we have lots of, and I mean, across the continents as well, we have many teams that consist of people who are working on completely different teams, on completely different projects. And initially, and I even forgot about that, when it was offline, pre-COVID, on the first day, on the kickoff, we had everyone who submitted their idea. It might have been just a very short description, pitch their idea on the very, very first day to find team members. So they would have like a 5 minute on the stage, and they would just tell what they want to work on. And if someone wanted to join from the crowd, and the whole office was invited, the whole anyone could join.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, right now it's not exactly an easy thing to do with the hybrid format, but with years of working on it, it just became easier.
But the main reason was you really wanted people collaborating, and you felt like you got higher quality projects if more than one person was working on it?
Yes, absolutely.
Margaret brought up executive leadership. I know Michael Dell actually came back to Dell to kind of, right the ship or whatever he did. So what's been the impact there? How have has your executive leadership been supportive? It sounds like they were really helpful in scaling up this thing from a small thing to a global thing. But any other thoughts there on executive leadership?
Well, I have not had the opportunity to talk to Michael Dell directly about it. But obviously, our hackathon is actually the biggest innovating event that Dell that Dell has to offer. So it's important even on higher levels, and the numbers of the projects that we receive, it just makes everyone proud. And the number of, so this year, again, we're incorporated the patents portion to the hackathon, and we did a series of lections explaining how to file patents for hackathon ideas and how it is important to patent them. And out of 624 hackathon projects, we had over 300 at least patent disclosures submitted. So it's an important number for every tech company working in an innovation field.
And is that
one of our metrics?
Is that something? How did that come to be? Did legal this hackathon thing kept getting bigger and bigger, and then legal kind of slid over and said, "Hey guys, we could get some."
Not exactly. We actually closely work with legal all the time.
Okay.
First of all, because we work with innovation and we do have ideas coming through from various channels. Second of all, as a part of our global innovation program, we have patent circles. So it's again like a little patent ecosystem where we have education sessions, where we have patent mining sessions. For all hackathon projects, we have patent harvesting sessions. So it was just a logical, I would say, evolvement of the hackathon. So we just started tracking those down, and we started explaining the importance of patenting the ideas, especially when you present them to a larger crowd. If there is something that you can patent, you should try doing it before you disclose it.
And going back, I picked up on you were talking about those are some of the metrics, or those are the metrics we track, which is number of projects, and also I imagine number and percentage of those that have patent disclosures. Are there other metrics that you track in terms of success or report upward about the hackathons?
Yes. So after the hackathon is finished, we go into that post-production mode, and for all of the finalist projects, they are going through we have our internal ideation tool. So they go to that internal ideation tool after that. And this is when each of them is being individually reviewed, and they think of how it can be incorporated, and if it can be incorporated in our portfolio, or connecting those projects to, or project leads to maybe specific teams who might be interested in incorporating. So there are different paths that the project might go into. Some of them go to incubation. So we collect all of those numbers, like where the project went. And sometimes project does not exactly fit anywhere at that point and it just gets iceboxed. So we do collect that information. Those are also our metrics, apart from obviously a number of projects and number of participants and geos.
But I want to go back to this. You said you spend about 6 months just prepping for the hackathon, and you know determining the theme and giving people time to think and build teams. So can you talk to us about that? And was it always 6 months? Has it kind of grown every year and gotten bigger and bigger, or what? Talk to us about all that prep work that goes into being successful at this scale.
No, I think it's been like that pretty much. I think the post-hackathon work, this is something that's changed, because when we just started back in 2019, we didn't do much with the projects after the hackathon was over. So it was a fun event, but actually no outcomes, no success stories. So right now we're closely monitoring all of the finalists, winners especially, just making sure that whatever they can get out of the hackathon, whether it's incorporated in the portfolio, whether it's just a feedback or mentorship, we try to get that. But the preparation pretty much took about the same time every year, especially since it's global.
And what's going on in that cycle? I mean, so your event will be in October, right? So you're warming up for that. And what is your theme settled for the year already? And just talk us through kind of the mechanics of what you're doing during that pre-event phase.
Absolutely. No, there's a lot of work ahead at this point. So in preparations, we obviously come up with the themes. We try to break those down into smaller pieces, which will be clearer for all participants if they need to. We also have pre-hackathon education sessions, several of those. Some of them are dedicated to patent disclosures. Some of them are dedicated just to the hackathon process. Then we also need to secure, meeting rooms in all locations. It's a ton of logistics. It's catering. It's merchandise design and ordering. It's securing local judges. We also have coaches from our technical leadership community to help projects prepare. So it's securing the coaches. This is. I was like, that's a lot. We have weekly sync up calls. Yes, it's just from the top of my mind. We have standards for presentations. So we need to update those standards. We need to set up Bright Idea. If we need to make changes to the pipeline, we do this. If we need to make changes to the registration form, we also do this. So it's, again, rebranding of Bright Idea for hackathon theme, update and all information in there. It's all internal marketing materials, starting from posters to presentations to any supporting materials, emails that will be coming through, design of those emails, banners for those. So it's a lot of work.
Do you guys set targets like, hey, we want to get, we did this many projects or this many teams last year. We want to, uplift that by 10% or 30% or something like that?
Usually it's the opposite, to be honest. Usually that's it. We can only take in 300 projects. Yeah, I think 2 years ago, we're no more than 300 projects. Now, we have to cut, we need to close. Sometimes we close judging panels before the end of the registration, just because it's too many people who want to participate and we just don't have the capacity. We have about 20 local judging panels globally, which can intake about up to 25 projects in each. And most of the time they are completely full and we have wait lists, and we're still trying to accommodate all of those people. This is people love it. You were asking why I love it. I'm saying that's why I love it. It's
because people
love it.
So with these 25 people, are they, is that a full day for them to to evaluate these, with the 25 projects? Is that a full day for the judges?
It's a full day. We start in the morning, then we have a lunch break, and then we continue, and then we have deliberation session, and then we announce the finalists and have cake and celebration and gifts.
Is it a hack? So okay, let's talk live event. So for live event, is your event like 2 days, like a day of hacking and a day of judging, or is it a week or?
2 days of hacking and a day of judging.
Okay, so 3 days.
I have a wild card question. What has been your favorite location so far, and what has been the best catering so far?
Wow, that's a good question. Our Seattle site where I'm based is pretty small. And the question has many aspects to it, honestly. It's easier to run it, and I'm the person who is doing it in person in here. We have a really nice renovated office. We have this virtual experience, hybrid experience enabled rooms, which makes it so easy to run for people who came in person and people who want to pitch digital. So this is absolutely great. As for catering, that's a good question. Again, as the person who is doing it in here, it's so small. So our site is so small in here. So I'm trying to do everything on my own. So I don't get to actually enjoy that part of it. But
you're too busy to eat?
I do have something to eat, but rarely because I'm also recording and taking pictures. I'm a control freak. In other locations, surprisingly, it's usually not like that. They have lots of people supporting. And this year it's going to be actually different because I might be going to Texas. Because this is where our headquarters is, and I will be running the in-person event there. And this one is going to be huge.
You got to get Michael Dell to come by and say hello so you can finally meet him.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe that's going to happen. But we already have like 2 really big meeting rooms secured in there, and it's going to be fun.
And so you're saying it's going to be bigger than the previous ones. What are you expecting right now in terms of participation for this upcoming one?
It might be the same number of projects, but as we're going back to office, we do expect to see many more people in person, which I cannot even predict. It's really, and this is my pain point at this point, because, sorry for repeating myself, but we need to predict catering, we need to predict merchandise, and for every geo across the globe. And it's since this is the largest event that we have in this in-person / hybrid format, it's nothing to compare it with. So this year we're just going to see and prepare.
Yeah, we're doing our annual hackathon, and I was kind of surprised, like more people came out of the woodwork. I think like people are over that kind of COVID moment, and some of them are still working from home, so so they see it as a fun thing to come out and travel for and stuff like that. So you may actually get surprised on the upside with how many people want to come in person.
That's one of the reasons why we're trying to make it not only around the goals of the company, but also making it a fun, inclusive experience where we do like food and we do giveaways, and just to make it a more interesting experience for them, especially when they finally can come in person and see each other after years of being remote.
So you mentioned a bunch of different locations. I'm curious how many total locations have like a judging panel, and then I assume there's locations where there's not even a dedicated innovation program person there, right? Like they're just kind of volunteers and stuff like that. And
yes, so we do in United States. We have 2 locations on the West Coast, which is like one is in Washington State, and then another one is in California. And then we obviously have a location in Texas, and then we have 2 locations on East Coast. And we have Ireland, Poland, Israel, China, and we have 3 locations in China, and we have 3 locations in India.
Wow. And then so you're like you have to run your local event and try and orchestrate kind of the global thing.
Yes,
and
that's exactly.
You're basically.
No wonder you don't need the catering.
When it comes to local part, I am responsible for California, Washington, and Texas. So I have to, yeah.
And then so in terms of coordinating all those people in all those different locations, I guess you're setting up like a standard agenda for the day and kind of, a basic framework for how the judging is going to be. And, can you talk
yes, that's why we find volunteers, and some of the volunteers are with us for years now from other teams. And especially in other countries, we do have volunteers who have been with us since the very beginning, I would say. We have weekly and bi-weekly sync-up calls with them, and we're basically going through this whole process every year from the very beginning. As I do my part of it, let's say I just came up with the merchandise design. I create a presentation, I share it with everyone. So everyone, it's a very transparent process of preparation. They all know each and single step. They are all involved with every pre-hackathon session, with the preparation. They attend all of them. That's like by the time of the hackathon, they know every aspect of it.
Okay, very cool. You talked a little bit about the post event, and I know that, and that wasn't something that you were, there was a lot of activity early on, but then it sort of grew over time. So what actually is happening there? Are you, you said you might incubate some projects might get iceboxed. Do projects get sent to other teams like a PMO or just like a development team or something like that, or an R&D team?
Yes. So we have usually local global judges. When they review the projects, we collect all their thoughts on them. And for some of them, they would directly say, hey, we know this team, and that's just such a great idea when the projects come to that level, to that people who oversee that many projects, so many products, they can say, hey, this needs to be directly implemented into that product. We need to just make these 2 people meet and discuss. Yeah, so this is also a possibility for some of the projects. Yeah, so it's connecting. This is also a great thing about the hackathon, is just connecting people across different teams and divisions and just making things happen.
Yeah, it feels like a couple times that we've been talking about hackathons, it feels like a direct response to silos within an organization, as hackathons can be this moment where you're specifically coming and breaking down the silos that naturally sort of build up within an organization, especially the size of Dell. Do you see that as a benefit of it?
Yes, absolutely. That's one of the, I would say this is one of the goals of the hackathon, to break the silos.
I mean, this seems like world-class scale, right? Like, there's probably less than 100, there may be less than 30 people doing something at this scale. What advice do you have? I mean, it seems like you just kind of, they kept making this thing bigger and bigger, and you kind of were able to, stay with it and keep up with it all. Like, that seems like a really unique perspective. So I'm just curious, what do you think, prepared you, or what skills do you have, or what advice do you have for somebody who maybe they're doing 1 or 2 hackathons, or smaller, regional, departmental, and they want to kind of go bigger or get the attention of senior execs? Or what advice do you have for just operating at that scale?
I would say attention to details. So for us, it all started with putting together checklists of every single thing that we need to get prepared for the hackathon. And tooling, well, I will go back to Bright Idea. That was such a life change because we started not with Bright Idea. We started with we had an internal tool. And it was a completely different story, especially with that number of projects that you have. And when you need to, sometimes, especially on the day of the hackathon itself, when you need to make many manipulations with the projects, when you need to get the reports right away to see what's changed, and it with that number of projects, the information changes a lot. There were some dropouts, they're changing their themes, they changed their judging panels, the change in the geos where they are pitching, that also happens. So you have to have this information available right away and easily accessed to by yourself as an organizer, but also when you work with the other people in other geos, they also have to have immediate access to that information because the timing is crucial, and only great tooling allows doing that.
Where do you guys tree up to in the organization? So is this like, I know you're an ISG, but like, are you viewed as like an HR function or like an R&D function, or is it just your own function that goes into the executive leadership team?
Well, we are business operations.
Okay.
Yes, and we are kind of so innovation is a part of what we do. There are some other things that we also do, like this technical leadership community, and some completely different things within our team that are not even as much revolving about innovation. But we are kind of this small standalone, I would say, team in business. Yeah, in an organization.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but I would say on the upper layers.
Yeah.
So we oversee in a lot of things from our level.
Yeah. Kind of like a horizontal function. So is it officially beyond ISG now, or is it like ISG sponsors it and some other people participate, or is it ISG sponsors it and anyone can participate, or
So it's officially an ISG hackathon. The name of it is ISG Hackathon, and we market it as such. There are conversations about bringing it even to a higher level, but it's not happening this year, as far as I know. But it's still open to absolutely everyone with Dell badge. So if they want to join, they can still do it. And the fact that we have our themes predefined still means that there will be within the scope of what our judges. So the biggest question if the judges are capable of scoring those projects, but this is why we have the themes predefined. So the judges have expertise in those areas. So it's open to everyone. We want to make it as inclusive as it can be.
Where do you expect this to go from here? Obviously, you're growing this program, you're growing the hackathons year over year. If you could wave a magic wand and have innovation at Dell go in whatever direction you want, where do you see it going in the next few years?
I think we might come up with doing 2 hackathons, maybe doing something of a smaller scale as well, like in between, and might go actually beyond ISG officially. I can see that coming because innovation in Dell is very important. It's just a matter of if we have enough human resources to review all of those projects and make sure that they receive the attention that they need. But yes.
That's a common theme that we've heard where these things start in a small place, they grow. All of a sudden it's like a massive program, and it's, it might not be resourced like a massive program, like the sales kickoff probably has this huge team and huge budget, and then the hackathon budget maybe not as large. So it's almost like people are all like almost like a year behind, right? Like the thing grew last year, and then they they only have the team they need for for what the scale of it a year ago. So yeah, it's definitely seems like a struggle. But I've also seen, and this has come up in some of our other conversations, is that it's just really it's seen as strategic, like it's seen as like a really important source of innovation, and that it kind of like has to happen, right? And I think even with COVID, that was even more important when people were kind of like home and not getting as much collaboration. But it just seems like it's starting to be recognized as like a major source of innovation. And one of the people we spoke with, it was almost like they were just trying to create more and more flex time, right? Like there's the time where someone's telling you what to do, and every hour is like kind of quantified and measured and aligned. And it was like this battle to like just create a little bit more flex time to give people a little bit more kind of a little bit more control over what they're doing, so they can explore things and tap into that passion that you were talking about.
It was also interesting how in the beginning it was a bit, not to say not everyone was excited about it, but it took us some time for specific teams, especially if they have releases, to make sure that their management is okay with that they can make this time work. Right now, when everyone, like, it's a brand, in Dell, it's a brand and everyone knows it, and it has changed a lot. And now the leadership, if their division participated, they asked, and again, going back to Bright Idea, they asked for the data, how many projects they had from their division, and this is the information that they're proud of, and they're sharing it, and how many patents their projects submitted, and how many of them became finalists, if there were winners among them. So it's also brought that aspect to it. So everyone is waiting for it.
That's fascinating, because it turned in from like this, oh no, we're going to mess up the release cycle, or this fear-based idea of if we give people time, it means it's taking away from this clearly attributable ROI, and kudos to your team to then be able to arm them with statistics that actually make them proud, right? And almost like you should compete on these things, like how many projects your division had, or what, how many patent disclosures you filed. And so that's smart internally, I feel like, psychologically, to kind of switch it from that mindset.
Yeah, and again, we have lots of support from senior leadership, and they love seeing those numbers. And this is what encourages like all leaders to promote the hackathon.
So I've got a couple more scattered questions I like to ask. Margaret reminded me. What's one question we haven't asked that we should have asked, that we weren't being the best moderators that we should have been, and you have this brilliant thought in your mind that we just weren't able to pull out?
I think we went over the majority of things, but I feel like you did not ask. Well, again, I think I talked about it a bit, because I just had to, how we, switched from our internal tooling to actually a Bright Idea, because it was a difficult decision to make, because you guys are an internal company, and this is intellectual property. And I had to make sure that you are aligned to all our standards and policies, and that was a whole process. And actually, I did a big research among all the companies who are providing the hackathon platforms, because our internal tool just could not handle that many projects and the whole production cycle. And I had many calls with different people from different companies before I made the decision to select Bright Idea. So I just wanted to say that this is a great product, very secure, very rich in functionality. It covers, and it evolves every year. I don't think that I use all of the functionality, honestly guilty of that, but I can see some things that were not there that I needed that are now there. So yeah, just thank you. And right now, everyone knows in the company, like Bright Idea is almost a synonym to the hackathon.
Wow.
So it's
well, thank you for
that great
doing. You know, this is really about the Synthesize community is really about, by customers for customers. So it's really not, we try to keep Bright Idea in the background as much as we can, but just talking to you and being able to talk to one of our actual customers face to face, really, you say what gets you excited. That's what gets me excited, is that you feel like it's actually helping, because we just spend our days like trying to fix bugs and stuff like that. So when somebody's
it helps a lot, and you cannot imagine how many. So we do have many other, like Dell is huge, right? We have many teams, and I do have people from other teams and reaching out and asking to tell them about Bright Idea and how we do it. You have no idea how many sales pitches I did for you guys within Dell, and how many demos. Like the most recent was yesterday.
Wow. Somebody get our commission structure.
I know. So it's actually a big deal, and so many people are reaching out and asking again, because.
Do you guys do
This is what helps it to run it smoothly. Like, you cannot underestimate that aspect of it.
Do you guys do everything in like one initiative, or one basically event? Like, or do you do like separate, like does Ireland have a separate community or something like that?
So we're doing one challenge for all geos. And the only hiccup with that is that the judging panels fill up at a different speed. And then I need to close some of them. And this is the tricky part.
Well, I'll ask one more question. If you don't have an answer, that's fine, but I like to put people on the hot seat. If you were CEO for the day, and what would you do to make more innovation happen at Dell?
That's the toughest one for today.
Other than promote you to run it for the whole company, which I think might be a good idea too.
Honestly, I wouldn't say that it might be a CEO perspective, but we have so many other geos that are not on our radar yet. So I just wish we had a bit more people in more locations to just have them more involved with our initiative. They're still global and they are involved at a certain scale, but I can see this coming. I can see more participation from those locations, but I guess more awareness of the program that we have would be great. But other than that, I feel like Dell is actually really working hard on making this innovative culture blooming. I don't know, and it's hard to add something on it, especially with the number of other teams also reaching out and who are hosting their hackathons. And I see more and more of those things coming, and it's a really good sign.
Well, I'm sure if they have a few more people like you, the future looks bright for sure. Okay, well, thank you so much, Karina. Thank you for taking your time. Thank you for sharing your insights and your wisdom. I'm sure the Synthesize community will love hearing this and learning about doing hackathons at this scale. Anyone who has a comment or a question, please put it below in the comments, and we'll try and respond. And I hope to see you soon at an event or something like that. And please reach out if I can be helpful with anything with Bright Idea stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure talking to you guys.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
I had such a great time. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Synthesize Pod. For more resources on how to bring innovation to the forefront of your organization, sign up for our newsletter at brightidea.com. That's BRIGHTIDEA.com. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode.